All right, hey everyone, Jeff here at stopthepirates.blogspot.com. Talking about credit scores and the FICO system. Well, first you need to understand the purpose behind credit scores. The credit scoring system is another slave-driving program. It was devised by the Federal Reserve System and with the blessing of the high contracting powers. Its purpose is to squeeze more cash out of the borrowers and to force the public into becoming loyal, conditioned slaves. First of all, when you apply for a mortgage, you are requesting a loan of their valueless currency to purchase a home or automobile, which you can never own, upon which you pay a penalty called interest and costs. You don't own the home you live in, even if you've paid off the mortgage. And the mortgage is mort, which is death, and gage is pledge, death pledge. Those who are approved for a loan are watched closely to see if they have swallowed the fraud hook, line, and sinker and follow the repayment instructions fully. Actually, up until recently, if you took out a mortgage and never made one payment, there's nothing they could do, because you actually paid for the house with your signature signing the note, which the bank takes and puts into the asset column and then issues a check based on that. So it's your signature creates money, and then they sell the note to a servicing company 2 or 3 or 4 times. I mean, look at the last recession we had in 2008, when everybody was getting foreclosed on, and nobody could show you the wet ink signature note that you signed to prove that you even owe them anything. And they produce the note technology works really good today. They won't tell you that because they don't want everybody to know it, but full instructions at stopthepirates.blogspot.com on produce the note technology. But anyway, my point is that once you start making a payment, it's like you're acquiescing to it and you agree to it. So that's why nowadays they take the first payment out of your, before they even fund the loan, the first payment comes out. So you're always like a month behind. So they catch on to us as things move forward. Those who can't follow their directions, lost a job, or financially overextended themselves are rated badly, with their credit scores, and are penalized severely then and whenever they apply again. And those are called points. The personal information you provide to them when applying is also sold to other financial institutions and collection agencies. They tell you no, but unless you take the time to read all the fine print, they bluffed you again. Some merchandising companies have or perform a type of collection process first as a courtesy, and when you fail to bring your payments up to date, they discharge the debt and sell the discharged debt to a collection agencies for pennies on the dollar. These collection agencies are all owned by law firms who hire people to contact you and attempt to collect the original debt plus penalties for them. They do not represent the merchandising company. They represent their own business and probably pay $25 for a $300 discharge debt. If they can persuade you to begin making payments to them, that creates a contract between you and the collection agency regarding the debt, and the debt no longer exists. When a debt is discharged, it means that your agreement with the company is canceled for good. Now, lawyers are pretty clever, because they can purchase a debt for pennies on the dollar and call you, but you don't have a contract with them, so you don't owe them anything. The whole thing's a fraud. The only reason you would attempt to contract with them and get it whacked off is so it would come off your credit report, but there's other ways to do that. I mean, if you're someone who needs good credit scores, you can constantly be in contact with these credit scoring companies, Experian, TransUnion, what's the other one? TransUnion, and I forget the other one. But as far as home mortgages are concerned, whenever you apply for a loan, you're requested to sign a promissory note for the total amount of the loan. Then a payment account is established. The promissory note is never endorsed by a member of the financial institution, so that it can be sold without your permission. 3 days later, the original promissory note, signed in ink, is sold to another institution or foreign government who will collateralize it or use it like a bond and issue currency or loans against it. Same with student loans. Why the 3 days? Is because you have the right to withdraw. It's the you have the right to withdraw from or cancel the contract within 3 business days of acceptance. Is about the only right you have left, and it may be found under the Truth in Lending Act. All that matters to the bank is that you are a flesh and blood human being and that you have affixed your signature to a promissory note. They don't care if you have a great credit score or a poor one. Excuse me. Flesh and blood human beings technically own everything. And all corporations are fictional companies that have no value and cannot function until some human being blows life into them. The promissory note each sell for the same value. Since the promissory note was sold without your permission, the mortgage debt to them is actually paid in full, but they never tell you about that. In fact, the bank also sells your repayment plan to an investment or another bank for much less and agree to manage the payments for them. Most banks now employ a middle company to collect your mortgage payments. And you'll notice if you've ever had a mortgage, that your mortgage constantly gets sold. They just keep doing it because it's a scam, it's a fraud. They do this because your mortgage and repayment plan is not reflected on the bank's bookkeeping, and under federal and international laws, it's supposed to. So the middle companies act as a buffer and keeps them out of trouble. What they actually do, they actually pay off the loan, and the payments go into what's called an escrow account. And after you either refinance the loan or pay it off, they'll let it sit there for 90 days, and the bank will contact the IRS and say, hey, someone abandoned these funds in this account. Do you mind if we keep it? And the IRS says, no, go ahead. Since the bank can't, and if you stay in your home for 15 years, whatever, make those payments and interest payments and principal payments. And after that time, something happens, you lose your job, you get sick, whatever, and your home gets foreclosed on, and they sell it. You get nothing back from that. They keep it all. Since the banks can't legally make loans against their depositors' assets, everything is just a paper chase. Your payments are deposited into an investor's account who purchased it, and if it involves another bank, your payment is transferred to that bank where it is deposited into a savings account under a number instead of a name. The reason the account is numbered is because it is really your savings account. You don't know the debt, and so they conceal your payments as a numbered savings account. If they included your name, they would have to mail you a monthly accounting, and that would tip you off. So any foreclosure you might occur thereafter, any foreclosure that might occur thereafter is totally bogus and unlawful because they cannot produce the original promissory note. If demanded, they will produce a black and white photocopy, but that is not the that is actually the counterfeiting of a negotiable instrument unless it is reduced or enlarged. That point being that if they cannot produce the original note, it was sold. Given these circumstances, it was absolutely necessary for them to involve the judges in their criminal conduct. Foreclosure judges receive 10% of the original promissory note after they authorize the bank to steal and sell your assets in foreclosure. This process essentially makes the rich man richer and explains how the banks can own the bulk of the skyscraper building, parcels of land, stadiums across America. In reality, we pay for our homes 3 times over its original purchase price without ever securing ownership. Mr. Warburg was pretty ingenious. Was a pretty ingenious fellow when he designed the Federal Reserve System, and why we Americans always need to be 2 steps ahead of the banks, courts, and lawyers. According to the Constitution, The only way you can pay a debt is with silver or gold. And since there is no silver or gold backed currency, the only thing we can do is discharge our debt. A discharge is never a payment in full. It can be resold or borrowed against. Hence, lawyers purchase discharge debts for pennies on the dollar, open a collection company, and hire people to harass you into paying the debt to them. Remember that in all legitimate contracts, you always receive something of equal value from the company or person you borrowed from. Collection companies fail to provide you with anything of equal value and lie to you that they are collecting the debt on behalf of the original creditor. The best way to handle a debt collector is to deny who you are and every question they ask. Never talk to a debt collector on the phone. Just tell them you only do business through the mail. And then you want to send them, if they keep harassing you, a debt authorization letter, which I have at stoppthepirates.blogspot.com. Have a good day.